Well, let's bring in now Dr. Bharat Pankania, who is a senior clinical lecturer at the University of Exeter Medical School. Good to have you with us. Can I ask you, first of all, a question about the president? He says he's leaving the hospital after 3 or 4 days. Now, a lot of conflicting opinions as to how ill he actually was. He needed extra oxygen on a couple of days. He says he was prescribed dextramethasone, which is normally given to more serious cases. So how ill do you think he might have been?
I don't think he would have been that ill, because had he been pretty ill, he wouldn't have been going on his car ride to say hello to his supporters. I think it's also a bit irresponsible to do that, because you're either ill and you stay in hospital, or you're not ill, in which case you go home. On the subject of treatment, because he happens to be the president, they would have given him over and above the ordinary treatment that everybody gets. And I personally feel it is incorrect to just give everything, not because I'm sort of selfish, but I feel we should always follow protocols, because otherwise you're not really doing science, you're doing basket chemistry. So it's important to stick to protocols, and I can't see the reason why President Trump would have needed dexamethasone. We only give dexamethasone if you also need prolonged, continuous oxygen support.
Right, which he obviously didn't. He's also, of course, known as a president who hasn't taken coronavirus as seriously as he might have done in the past. He's now tweeted that, quote, people shouldn't be afraid of COVID. Do you think that's helpful advice?
No, it is very unhelpful, and it's very incorrect, because I feel if leaders are to lead, and they were to lead with advice such as don't get COVID to lead your life, or don't be afraid of it, what then happens is we see people dropping their guard. And now I'm worried about ordinary members of the United States, ordinary citizens. They drop their guard, the poor people get infected, they get infected. Of those people who get infected, few will die. And I feel all lives matter. We shouldn't give such mixed messages which result in a negative outcome.
One thing that medical experts are talking more and more about now is long COVID. People who suffer long-term effects weeks and months after they've contracted it, even if they weren't especially ill during the height of their contagion. Is this something that we're starting to learn more about? Is this something we're starting to get more worried about?
Yes, we are learning a lot about it, and we are also very worried, because this is not like influenza where you have an illness and you get better and then you forget about it. What we're finding with the SARS-CoV-2 infection is that even after you get better, you're left with quite serious conditions like shortness of breath, extreme tiredness, afflictions of the heart, kidneys, and neurological signs and symptoms. So the range of symptoms is quite serious, and therefore I always say, please, whatever age group you are in, don't get infected, don't infect others, because this is a serious infection.
Yes, and even though President Trump has now been treated and left hospital, in terms of immunity, we still aren't quite sure whether people who've recovered from coronavirus have immunity. So it is possible that patients can catch it more than once.
And indeed, we have had reports of people who became infected in about February, March, have reported illness, and then when tested, have tested positive, suggesting that they've got a second infection. See, the curious thing about the SARS-CoV-2 virus is that whilst it makes antibodies, in other words, your immune system does recognize it, we feel not so sure.
Dr. Pankania, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. It's been a pleasure to speak with you, Dr. Bharat Pankania. We do have to break in to take you live to the hospital where President Trump has been treated, to hear from the medical staff. They're speaking now.